Hey everyone, welcome back to video number 2 in the series where we're going to cover the Qt project file setup. This is going to consist of pretty much explaining what the existing folders are within the project file, and then it's also going to be renaming and moving things around to where things make a little bit more sense. So in the last episode we went through the history of Qt and then the installation. This one is going to be editing it. So first thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and open up your folder. Typically it's in documents, but I went ahead and put mine on the desktop just to make it a little easier. So to start at the top, we're going to go into generated. Generated is pretty much only for your 3D objects. So when you import them, they're going to come into generated, and then it's going to create like a Qt Quick 3D whatever folder, and they're going to get put into there. I is pretty much all of their existing QML files that they have. Nothing gets added or changed much into this folder, as far as I know. Content's a pretty important folder for their concept. You're gonna have your fonts, and then you're also gonna have any screen/component that you make. Any QML code that pertains to your GUI is gonna get put into content, and we're gonna change that quite a bit. Um, this file here is the QML project. When you open up QtDesign Studio, this is typically the file you run. It also has a lot of information within this file that's ran that pertains to QtDesign Studio. As far as the two bottom ones go, I'm not quite sure what they're for. I mean, the Qt Quick Controls 2 configuration, that's pretty self-explanatory. But I don't quite understand that this file. I think it's the autosave functionality for the QML project, but I'm not really sure what this folder is. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to change some things. We're going to try to rename most things away from I. So the first thing we're going to rename is the actual project file itself that you're going to want to name. So we're going to go ahead and take the QML project and the QtDS and the file itself. So this name, those three need to be named the same thing. So I'm just going to go ahead and rename these your project file as such. And I'm going to do it to those other two. There we go. Oh, that was weird. Okay, so now we have our main project named to your project file. So this is a little bit easier to see that I doesn't consist of everything. This will work just fine. Okay, the second thing we want to rename is the I folder. I'm going to go ahead and just rename this to Qt. And this is going to kind of sound weird, but this is just the way I like to do it. I like to have a Qt folder, and then within that, I like to have an internals folder. And I just go ahead and move everything that's within that original I folder into internals. So now we have like a Qt internals, and this is all the things that are within really just QtDesign Studio that it's going to use. Okay, the next thing we're going to need to do is because I got changed to Qt internals, we're going to have to go into this QML project file and specify those. So you can open this up in Notepad if you want, but I'm just going to go ahead and open this up in VS Code. I find that to be a much easier text editor to work in. Okay, so as you can see, we have certain things that are directory I. We're going to go ahead and just rename these to Qt. Okay, now that you have this saved, let's go ahead and open up QtDesign Studio. And you're not going to see it in your recent project because it's been renamed. So you're going to need to go in and open project. and it's going to be that QML project file. Yes, you're going to get an error. That is to be expected. What we're going to do is we're going to go into the code, which let me get this organized a bit better. Okay, there we go. So now instead of I, we want qt.internals. And that should go ahead and bring everything back. Okay, so another thing I'd like to go over quickly while it's still in my head is a little bit about QtDesign Studio and some of the tabs. So most of these panels you see here are drag and droppable to any surface you want. And you can find these within views. If you hit this drop down arrow, you have pretty much all of them here. A couple of them I like to enable right off the bat is file system. Yeah, for now I think just file system is fine. So that I do have a layout system that I enjoy. I like components at the top. Components is important. Followed by file system, which is going to be after projects. Project, which is it's kind of like file system, but it's only with the QML project file seeing. I define that not quite necessary, so I'm just going to go ahead and close that. I'm going to bring the navigator down to assets. Navigator is extremely useful and is going to be one of your biggest tools that you're going to use. It's very easy for visualization and removing code. Like if I didn't want the scene camera, I don't have to come here and try to find the code. I can just do that, hit the delete key, and bam, it's gone. You also can choose your layering effect, which is quite a big deal. The layering of which, how things are stacked on top of each other. The higher up it is, the more on top most layer it's going to be. So why this layout? The reason why I like this layout is now you can go in from components and navigator, and you can kind of like I want a row, and then that can be dragged and dropped into one of the corresponding widgets, whatever you call this, that already exists within this. So also while we're here, real quickly, go into your file system, go into your iContent, and go to app.qml. We're also going to change this import to qt.internals. There we go. Okay, now that we have this sorted out, we're going to go ahead and close QtDesign Studio once more. Navigate back to your project folder, and we're going to go ahead and open iContent, and we're going to move fonts into the main project file directory. So now we have fonts in here, and we're going to rename iContent to screens. So this folder is going to be designated for screens only. App.qml is kind of the master of them all, so all screens will pertain to app, and app will be able to switch screens because Qt Quick has like a master main window concept where you have one window, and all of your other screen element UIs are just rectangles, which has its ups and downs from my current knowledge. Like if you wanted a program that could branch out different programs or different windows, like for instance, if I had another file open up in VS Code and I drag this out, it will actually open up another window here. I'm not quite sure how you would take that approach with Qt Quick because you're only allowed one window. I'm pretty sure it's possible. I'm just not quite sure how that would actually work out. Anyways, though, to get back onto topic, yeah, we have our screens. Okay, and like before, we're going to go back into our QML project and we're going to rename everything from iContent now to screens. Okay. Okay, now that that's done, we're going to go actually back into the folder, into screens, and we're going to rename app.qml to something a little bit more readable, which is just going to be mainwindow.qml. Okay, now that we have that done, go ahead and reopen up QtDesign Studio, and you should now see it in your recent projects. Go ahead and open that project up. Alright, now we're going to change a few things within the main window. First thing I like to do is give it an ID, which we're going to call main window, and you can't use capital for first. So it's going to be lower main into capital window. And on top of the ID, we're also going to give it an object name. Come on. There it is. And that's going to be the same as the main window. Oh, and one mistake I made right here is this actually needs to be string for the object name, but it's still going to be the same as the ID. So ID is callable within QML. If you want to access the main window, you would call main window dot. Object name is for Python to receive scope if you ever need it, which sometimes I like to do. Like the first time I ever started making like a game in QtDesign or in just the Qt framework, I used Python to change the screen. So Python would go into the window and it would pull the object name main window, and then from here I could access all of its children, which would be like main screen, which we're gonna actually change this because this isn't main screen anymore. We're just gonna change this to screen 01. And this ID could be really whatever you want. That's just what it's called. This screen up here is actually the screen file itself, the screen01.ui.qml. These two have to be the same. It's referencing that there. We're also going to go ahead and just change the title from I to just your project file. Okay, so the next thing we're going to change is the width and height. So this is set to main window, which was what they were calling screen 1, and didn't quite make much sense. So we're going to go ahead and change this. So we're actually going to change this to the constants width and height. Constants is within qt.internals, and it seems to be like their static width and height. Also, while we're here, we're going to change the font path from iContent to screens. So now if we go back into main window, we can call this constants. There we go. Okay, the next thing you're going to want to do is go into your QML project and our main file, which is app. We're going to want to change this to main window, which is the same naming as the QML itself. So now if we return back, we can go ahead and run this. And as you see, we get our cube with the hello, and everything is renamed a little better and structured to a point where things make more sense.